Good morning, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
That's all right.
Morning, evening, afternoon, all. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I don't know which one it is.
It's evening here.
Yeah,
Hello.
Hi, Sheila.
Mr. Merson.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi, Sheila.
Hello,
You all right?
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
Evening.
Oh, Martin, there you are.
Hello, Martin.
Hi, Martin.
Hello. Mr.
It's
Merson.
lunchtime here.
Doug
Richard.
Merson.
Richard, have you got any calendars left?
Yeah, I
Can you
have,
send me
yes.
Can you send me another one?
Another one.
Yes, another
Yeah,
one.
will do.
Okay,
Okay.
was it 11 quid?
Yeah.
Still £11 PayPal? Yeah.
Put the
Must be
price up.
Please, yeah.
Eh? PayPal? Is he getting me?
That was yeah, £11, please, yeah.
Okay,
PayPal.
right.
Yeah,
Okay, right, fine.
right.
Do
Okay.
that. Hank,
Hey.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for your book.
Yeah, well, it should be somewhere
Yeah.
across the North Sea by now. I hope.
Should be, hopefully.
Yeah, I know. I have all these papers from,
Yeah.
from the post office
Yeah.
with
It's
all
not the 30
the codes,
yeah.
but it's all very, very, very slowly today.
Yeah, it's not the 31st of December yet, so we're still
Well,
Sort
there
of.
was a guy in Belgium who received it this morning.
yeah.
And he said I have to be patient because it's a Christmas present, so I may not open it for my wife. So
Yeah.
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 And I heard that Steve Russ got it this morning also.
Yeah, I got mine the other day, Hank.
Okay.
Got mine the other day. I
have
haven't
it
managed
also?
to open it yet, though.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, so if
That
you
was
wait long
very
enough,
good.
it comes to England.
That took 2 days.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Today I received your calendar also. I received your
Very
calendar
good.
today also. So
Right.
that was
Excellent.
quicker than I thought. Yeah.
Haven't received mine yet, but I guess it will be in tomorrow.
Yes. Well, you know yours always go on a trip to Germany, Frank.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. Maybe it's my name. I'll get you eventually.
I've got a parcel doing a tour of Italy at the moment.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Cool.
I've had a parcel come from Italy to London and back to Italy again.
All right.
Oh,
I sent one out on the
Well,
that came to me on I sold it on the 27th. And I shipped it out about 2 or 3 days later. That was there on the 9th, and they tried to deliver it, and that didn't get delivered for some reason. They tried again yesterday, and I went on today and had another look, and they're still trying to deliver it. So I don't know what's going on out there. I really don't.
but in the UK, you're still lucky. I sent a package to South Africa on the 7th of September, that's 3 months ago, and it's
Yeah.
still not there. So,
It could be quite interesting. I don't know what's going to happen from the 1st of January. I've had all sorts of emails coming in.
yeah.
The VAT is all changing apparently on when we send you stuff. People like the Americans, they pay tax now, don't they, on the stuff that comes into them. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. It could be. At the minute, Kent is full of lorries, I think.
could be a deal yet before they're done.
It's going to stop the lorries stacking up, is it?
No.
All right. So we've got a speaker, which is good. Doug, if you're good for today.
Okay.
I've got something new here. Are you people actually hearing me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's good. Now we've got Jim. I'm assuming that you can hear us, John Cornish. Can you see and hear us okay?
He's muted. Oh,
Connecting.
Hang on, I've just
Yeah.
got to let.
And he is now. I think he's joining us.
Just bear with for a second.
Sheila's disappeared again.
Oh no.
Yep.
Where's she gone to?
I've muted. I
I
turned
know.
off the camera.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for the
turn-
speaker.
Well, it's not started yet, Sheila. You daft. Well, of course, you come from Cornwall, don't you? So.
Hey,
No, she
We've
don't.
got different time zones.
All right. Well, it's doubly worse because she comes from London or wherever it is.
London,
so she's
yeah.
in Cornwall. That's even worse. Oh, you turned your light
Oh,
on,
well.
Rupert.
Right. Hello, Quintin.
Howdy.
Quintin sitting up there. Yeah. Hello.
I just had to send the link to Adam. He's now joining us, which is good. Now, Jacques, you're still okay for the next one?
Yes, okay.
Yep. So that'll be the talk on Clara, and that'll be the middle of January, which will be the next meeting. So that'll be good.
Interesting.
We're 5 past now. We're up to 28. So I'll let anybody else come in as they join. And if I can just ask the usual, if people can turn off their videos and mute, and to give a bit of extra bandwidth, and I'll hand over to Doug. There you are. Yep, that's good. We can see that, Doug. Can't hear you though. Do you?
Okay.
Oh, good. Good.
This is going to be covering a few of the more places that I've collected here in the Northwest. Title slide here is a marmot at Mount Rainier claiming his rock and telling everybody else to stay away from it. And in compiling this program, I've added a few things. I've got some crystal drawings, both structural that were made or done with Crystal Maker and the American Mineralogist Crystal Structural Database, and some shaped crystal drawings. When I bought the Zeolites of the World from Rudy, he included the disc that had all his drawings, or most all the drawings that he used in the book, and also some from the Groth-Krantz library that was part of Shape, and a couple I made with Crystal Shaper. And other sources of information, of course, were Mindat, Google Earth, Dana's New Mineralogy, and the Handbook of Mineralogy, Volume 2, Parts 1 and 2. We're going to first take a look at Rock Candy Mountain in the Black Hills in Thurston County, one of the early places I collected up here. And that's the location there. It's just a very small road cut. It's probably no more than 25 meters long and a meter high. And you can't find it looking at Google Earth. So that's an approximation of where it's at. And Olympia, our state capital's here, and then Seattle's off the upper right-hand corner. And two quarries that we talked about the last presentation I did. The Mindat page for the locality. There's not a whole lot found there. The best is the chabazite and the levine and the mordanite. Stilbite's a little hard to find, and heulandite is usually buried under everything else. And here we have a chabazite crystal. Like many of our localities up here in the Northwest, the chabazites haven't been identified as to which particular one they are, so they're just chabazite series. Heulandite tends to be the heulandite CA. And then there's a lot of mordanite there, all these white fibers. And in amongst that, we have stilbite, the flat tip stuff that once upon a time used to be called epidysmine. If you look in, I think it's Dana's 6, that's how they refer to it that way. And calcite's found there, not much. And here's one that's got more of the stilbite with some mordanite. And when we collected here, our son was just over a year old. These were collected in April of 1980. And the levine that's found there, none of the levine that I've seen from there has had the aragonite offertite coating on it. And another levine. The next locality is going to be down at Big Tree Creek in Yakult. It's a dead locality. It was a very small bunch of rock. We're not even sure exactly where it came from. Never found any in situ. It was just bulldozed stuff from a Forest Service road and boulders along the road and down the bank towards a creek. The Mount St. Helens and some of the other areas are up in this area. One of the more interesting things to see around here, to break from rock hounding and woodland, there's an excellent rhododendron garden if you're there in April. The Mendat page for it. That's Rudy's Charnick's old van. These are Eocene basalts, roughly 15 million years old. And I was collecting these in 1989. The colzite here is excellent. It's got smectite group clay. And on these, you can see the pointed terminations on the fine blades. Another colzite. This is probably the best colzite in the U.S. And here it is with some heulandite. And on this one, you actually got light shining off some of these crystals, showing them pretty well. And then there's the neat heulandites. Another heulandite. And more heulandites. And there's also pink heulandite there that's got mordanite inclusions. And lamentite. There's also epistilbite there, but unfortunately, the only photo I have of it, when I finally found it, was from the very early days, and it wasn't worth using in the presentation. Now we're going to move over to Yakish Road in Goble in Columbia County. This is an Eocene basalt, and I collected there in June of 1990. There's the road cut. And this was exposed when they did a lot of road work here along US Highway 30 that runs along the Columbia River. There seems to be the remains of an old quarry up here, but I don't believe you can get into it anymore. Mindat page for it. And this red brecciated zone is where all the neat thompsonites, heulandites, stilbites, chabazites came from. The gray portion of the flow didn't have as many vesicles in it, although there were a few tubular cavities, and they contain mordanite, heulandite, apophyllite, and oconite. And this is about, if you were to go there today, that's kind of boulders you'd find to work in. There's a chabazite on mesolite. A stilbite. And that's in a cavity that's lined with heulandite. And we've got thompsonite blades on heulandite. A little bit of mesolite up here. And more thompsonite on heulandite. And we'll get a closer look at all these little blue specks here in the slide. Some more oh, why did I go backwards? Or have I got it duplicated? There we go. Those blue specks turn out to be chalcocite on thompsonite. One of the few colorful minerals with the zeolites. And we've got some more here. Fairly large grouping here, and then the little ones scattered all around on Thompsonite with Mordenite. And around the edges of this, you can see a little bit of the red Russia matrix. Next stop is going to be Oak Fork, the Oak Grove Fork of the Clackamas River. This is really too general a locality. Mendad, in their infinite wisdom, decided to lump all of the localities along the Oak Grove Fork under Oak Grove Fork. It actually spread out over quite a few miles. And this was collected on a very rainy Memorial Day weekend. Here at the Ripplebrook area, there's a road that comes in here by Lake Harriet, and the collecting area is just below the road. You can see the lake through the woods, and that's a light gray andesite that we were collecting in there for the minerals, which is pretty much a one locality, or one mineral locality. And that's Gismondine. All the Gismondine is on chabazite lining the cavities. And all of it is in these multiple crystals. There aren't, to my knowledge, any single crystals that have been found there. And one that's got some of the larger chabazite crystals with it. Now we're going to add a little bit of color. Obsidian Cliffs, North Sister Mountain, and Mackenzie Pass is an azumilite locality. This is the old Mackenzie Pass Highway. It is closed in the winter, and it's often into July, early July. On a real snowy winter, it might be mid-July before they get that highway plowed out. And some of these turns, like this one here and these here, two full-size pickup trucks can't be on the curve at the same time. And the trail comes off from about in here through the forest and then across this basalt flow. And this cliff in here is a rhyolite with some bits of obsidian in it. This mountain over here is North Sister Mountain. There's also Middle and South Sister. South Sister, a number of years back, had a bit of a intrusion that was monitored for a number of years, but it quit. Never did lead to an eruption. And my understanding is that above these cliffs, somewhere in this area, there is cultural heritage stuff. You do not want to get caught picking anything up there. And actually, these are all my photos. Put the Mendad page for it. And my wife in that one. The phaelite, liahunite are rather scarce there. I didn't find any of the stuff I've got that was worth photographing. The tridymite is lining all the cavities, and occasionally you can find a phalogopite crystal in one of the cavities. The bigger view, this is just before you drop down to cross the basalt flow to get to the talus slope. And there it is. It's a really gorgeous place. I've got a friend who lives in Oregon that had tried for years to get in here to collect. And every weekend he chose to go in there, it was pouring rain. He finally did get a good weekend, but he had a lot more rainy ones. And the boulders that are there. And that's the edge of the basalt flow. And some of the zoomlight crystals. There's quite a color change in them depending on whether you're looking in along the prism or if you're looking down through the face. And it's relatively easy to find the stuff. You don't have to even be obviously collecting. You can go in there and sit down, eat your lunch, and just loop some of the small pieces and you'll find it. Now we're going to move over to Eastern Oregon, the Beach Creek Quarry just north of Mount Vernon. This is a major north-south highway in Eastern Oregon. It's 395, also a state route number. It's Forest Service Road, and the quarry is right here. And the creek is running on the other side of the road. When we were here, the day we collected this was the day after Mount St. Helens erupted. And the minerals that are found there, it's one of the co-type localities for colzite. And this is this is a Rudy Chernick photo. That's his VW, ancient one. And it is a good dirt road in there. Today, you probably wouldn't find it looking quite like that. A lot of the stuff's been carried away or getting overgrown now. And there's some nice chabazite, beckelite variety on calcite. And an L-seam. I have not decided what this white stuff is that's growing around it. On the microscope, I can't really pick out a good morphology on any of that. So one of these days, I'll have to take the 10x objective and photograph an area like this, see if I can get some hint of the morphology and figure out what it is. And Thompsonite's quite common there. These blue balls or spheres with the Thompsonite worms on them. And nice Thompsonite sphere. I had one like this, was big enough I actually had it in my cabinet, and find that they're not color stable. After a number of years, they kind of turn into a more gray than blue. And Thompsonite. And with a close look, you can find little flat terminations on the crystals, which differentiates it from the colzite. More spheres with the worms and a couple that are fractured so you can see the internal structure. And a nice sphere on an L-seam. And again, you can see the terminations on the individual blades on this one. More Thompsonite. And the Levine's quite common there. Some of it's clear like this, others got a pretty heavy overgrowth of erionite ophrotite. And you can actually find pieces that you could put in a cabinet. Not sure if this is the ophrotite erionite. It doesn't quite look right because normally that grows perpendicular to the crystal faces instead of just splayed out across the face. And I found one copper that's included in an L-seam. Kind of tricky to get that photographed. And in the same general area, there's the Upper Ritter Quarry. This is the road that's coming in from 395, which is in the little resort of the Ritter Hot Springs is just off to the right. This quarry is pretty easy to pick out, and it's got a nice area to park in and camp in. The Mendat page. And over in this area, we've moved into the Picture Gorge basalt, which is part of the Columbia River basalts. And they're Miocene age. And this is from the same field trip that we were collecting the Gismondine on. At the end of the day of collecting Gismondine, we didn't want to waste the weekend, so we headed east over here. Ran into a little bit of snow in the mountains coming across, and then got over here, and it was a nice day. And Rudy's pickup truck with the distinctive license plate zeolite. And I believe that's Chuck Sweeney, one of our late micromineral group collectors. Used to be an opera singer. And quite a bit of coalcite there. The broken edges, you can see the internal structure. And there's gyrolite there. That little drawing is just based on the unit cell. I couldn't find anything that indicated some of the other faces. Obviously, there's more going on than just a simple unit cell shape. Quite a bit of mortonite there. The tips break out into those little fiber brushes. And more mortonite or mesolite. And mesolite with a chabazite up here. Calcite. And Thompsonite and chabazite. Good example of the thin, flat-tip Thompsonite blades. And the Thompsonite on the smectite group clay mineral. Now we're going to move down the road a bit to 3 Mile Creek. And this is a type locality for paulingite CA. And there's just a little exposure right here. This is somebody's house now, and I understand they don't like people collecting here, even though it's probably not on their property. I suspect it's on the road right away. There used to be an old one-room schoolhouse there, which was there when I was in there collecting. And the Mindat page for it. And as you can see, there's quite a number of zeolite localities in the area. And Rudy's old van, and that's the one-room schoolhouse. And they've got a stable here for horses because kids would get to school that way, or some of them would. And that's probably Rudy's dad sitting there in the truck. He was collecting partner with Rudy. There's paulingite CA. Nice clear crystals. You can look right through and see the matrix. And a group on, which is probably just a clay And that paulingite was sitting up nicely on one of those clay spears. And a bunch of paulingite crystals. And these spots here are where the clays come loose and the paulingite crystals have departed. As that clay dries out, some of it becomes very unstable and it's easy to lose the crystals. We got phillipsite there. And phillipsite with paulingite. And then we're going to move along farther down the road to the Devil's Backbone, right on the North Fork of the John Day River. From the 3 Mile School or 3 Mile Creek paulingite locality, you continue on kind of west and drop down into the river valley, and then you pick up a road along the river, and this cliff in here is Devil's Backbone, named for this ridge here. When I was out here collecting, we had a New Zealand connection because Jocelyn Thornton and her husband were staying with Don Howard and his wife and joined us on this collecting trip. And our camping area was right down here. We'd get out here early in the morning to collect because getting on around 10 o'clock in June, it was pushing 100 degrees out there, the sun blasting on that. Just too uncomfortable to keep working. We'd go back to camp, eat lunch, and then sit in the river. The Mindat page, that's me collecting. I wish I were that skinny today. And that's just a picture of the cliff face, just loaded with zeolites. Not a great Thompsonite. And this is Thompsonite and mesolite. A lot of these clusters of Thompsonite blades will transition into mesolite. And probably the most interesting mineral to find here is gamelanite. This is one that I found, showed it to Rudy, and we kicked it around because it didn't really look like most of the rest of the gamelanite. So he took a piece and had it analyzed, and in fact is gamelanite, as is all of the material around it. There's a more typical gamelanite. And cavities here are generally lined with phillipsite. And the caps on these may or may not be gamelanite. Some of them are chabazite. Another gamelanite with a phillipsite. Nice side view of a gamelanite crystal. and a group of gamelanite crystals. And you can find cavities there that have got large enough crystals that you could actually put them in a cabinet as a miniature. And then we have gyrolite here on phillipsite, and these white crystals are gismandine. That's one I called Rudy's attention to, and he analyzed it to so we know what it is. A closer view of the gismandine. Then we have calcite with fluoropophyllite K. An L-seam. Another fluoropophyllite. Fluoropophyllite with smectite group mineral and some gyrolite. And more fluoropophyllite. It's quite, fluoropophyllite there is quite common. And then we have black uglies in a lot of places, and here you have white uglies, the taccharonite. And another taccharonite. And a gyrolite on an L-seam. And you can see the frosting that's on the L-seam really helps in defining the crystals. And a very nice gyrolite from there with some taccharonite around it. And we're going to move up to Burnt Cabin Creek. This is the road coming north out of Spray. And there's a road cut face along here that's, when you look at it, it's just loaded with zeolites, and the collecting is in a boulder field that's below the road. There's an area you can pull off and park right here. In the Mindat page. There's some stillbite. I believe that might be the only stillbite that I found there. And then there's weird Thompsonite. and Thompsonite surrounding chabazite. Colzite. And Levine with colzite. Colzite on calcite. That's quite a bit of colzite there. And now we're going to jump over to the coast, Cape Lookout Quarry in Tillamook County. Tillamook's up to the north. If you're ever in the area, they have excellent cheese and excellent ice cream at the little store north of town. I doubt that I could find this location anymore. It's pretty well overgrown. And there's a state of Oregon campground here, which makes a good spot to camp. We were down here in April and it was kind of cool and wet. Real nice beach to walk on. And what the quarry looked like in 1970, and Rudy there in 1970, and another one of our local Northwest collectors, what the quarry looks like in 2008. Daciardite is the real interesting mineral to find there. And that's nestled in a mass of mordandite. And then there's some neat combinations. We've got pyrite out here and then wrapping around underneath some clinotillite. We've got mordandite clusters, and these fine needles are aragonite. And if you look in Rudy's zeolites of the world, of course, he doesn't have clinotillite in there because he considered it to be a silica-rich heulandite. And here we've got mordandite snowballs on fine aragonite fibers and a cavity lined with clinotillite, and one clinotillite that's impaled on the aragonite needles. And this started out as fibers of aragonite. Then it was overgrown with chalcedony, followed by the clinotillite, and then along came some pyrite. These are all little pyrite octahedrons. And another pyrite with a clinotillite and aragonite. And this cavity is lined with blue chalcedony with the clinotillite crystals on it, and the octahedrons of pyrite scattered around. And here we've got aragonite fibers that have some chalcedony balls on it, and then clinotillite crystals that have followed up. And there's one very fine aragonite fiber. More of the mortonite snowballs, the nice blocky clinotillite, and the aragonite fibers. More of the aragonite snowballs, clinotillolites, aragonite. Now we're going to jump back over to Eastern Oregon, Big Bend. Town of Kimberly is right here. There's a camping area right here, and then the cliff is that you collect at is right here. Excuse me. And you see there's not much room between the road and the cliff, so you got to be a bit careful. Don Howard and I collected here and told Rudy about it, and he went down, he told us the collecting site stinks. Well, it's because there was a dead deer rotting away there. And it's got some very nice large phillipsites. Not sure what this stuff is. It could be ticaronite, or it could be some very poorly formed garolite. Another phillipsite. More phillipsite. And if you notice here, you haven't seen any phillipsite with the cruciform twins. And we've got Thompsonite there and there, a Nelson line in the cavity pocket, and then mesolite needles. It's quite common combination there. And they've got some good garolite there. Sometimes have a difficult time photographing it. More garolite on the phillipsite. And on these, you can see the individual garolite blades along the edge. Another garolite, which really shows off the individual crystals along the periphery of it. And they've got fluorapatite there, or fluoropophyllite there as well. Not unusual to find in this brown shade. Also mesolite. Now we're going back out to the coast to the Yaquina Head Quarry. This is as it is today. There's no collecting allowed there anymore. BLM has turned this into an interpretive center. The interesting part of the quarry was in this area, and they've opened it up to the sea so they can have tide pools down here. This area had pretty much solid basalt in it. Not a whole lot of interesting stuff to get out of that. And the remains of the crusher, as it was in 79, and now what it's turned into. And the clinotillolite here is clinotillolite Na. More of it with a bit of aragonite right there. And then some nice stout aragonite crystals. And more of the aragonite crystals with a clinotillolite crystal. More of the aragonite. And this, the aragonite here is aragonite K, unlike up the road a bit where it was. And then the pretty things from there are the pyrites. There's a pyrite on clinotillolite. Some more pyrites on the clinotillolite. And a hot pixel track. More pyrite on the clinotillolite. Another pyrite. This one's actually got some little octahedrons scattered around. As does this one. You can see there's some here that haven't been elongated. And then over to Near Road in Goebel. Earlier we talked about Yaktish Road. There's the town of Goebel. And Near Road is right here, again, the Columbia River. A closer view. Originally, it was collected over on an exposure right in here for the regular zeolites, and stuff was found in a highly vesicular basalt. And then later on, they discovered the Chernykite and bauxite on this side of the road. In 72 is before the pit was dug where the bauxite Chernykite was found, and there's the bluff on the other side of the road where the normal vesicular basalt was. It's also a code type locality for coalsite, as well as the type localities for bauxite and chernocite. And here we have a white ball of bauxite surrounded by Jersey chernocite. They're always found together. There's a bauxite ball that's fractured, so you can see the internal structure. And the chernocite that comes right up against it. Another one with a fractured bauxite ball and the Jersey chernocite. Another bauxite with a Jersey chernocite. And a group of chernocite crystals. And again, the clay here can be a problem. Some of it doesn't stay adhered very well, and it's easy to lose specimens. And then we have chernocite with a coalsite hat and a coalsite line cavity. Another cavity that's lined with coalsite and the coalsite caps on the tips of the chernocite crystals. Nice cluster of chernocite. And we have a Levine line cavity with chernocite. And then from the more normal rock there, we've got Thompsonite. Hewlandite. And that's got little sprays of Thompsonite scattered about. And we have a stilbite crystal with Thompsonite. And an L-seam. I retired from the Navy in July of 1987. And this was my first collecting trip after my retirement. And the first Saturday of November, our micro mineral group has a meeting. And at that time, they were meeting in Forest Grove. And the Sunday after, there were a group of us went over here to collect. And in that group was Rudy Chernick, Bob and Russ Boggs, Gerald Klein, and a bunch of our other members. And it was essentially the last recovery of any of the bauxite and chernocite. At the time, the pit was about 6 feet deep. Might have been pushing it to get 2 cubic meters of productive rock out of that. And by the time we were done at the end of the day, going down deeper and going laterally, we weren't finding any rock that contained the bauxite or the chernocite. So at the time I collected this, although they knew the names, the minerals had not been officially published. So it was kind of lucky to get in on that. And that is the end.
Excellent, Doug. Thank you.
Very good. Very good.
Very good, Doug.
Kind of boring color-wise.
I love zeolites, so
A lot of clear.
I thought that was black and white photography.
No, it's all color photography. Just no
Stunning
color.
photographs. Yeah, I like all the edges. Really stunning
Oh, yeah.
photographs.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Area night, that was lovely.
Yeah.
And the Hooligan
Yeah.
lights. Yeah, good.
You didn't ruin it by putting any agates in there that you could have picked up on the beach.
Never mind, Rupert.
There's some other beaches around there that you can find zeolites on. Actually, there's one that's got some nice Arianite spheres that are quite interesting.
Speaking of that, sounds like Tunnel Beach, which is
It is Tunnel Beach.
yeah. Did you see the news story from a few days ago?
No.
They had a rock slide that completely closed off the entrance to that tunnel.
Really?
Trapped a bunch of people on the beach. They had to go in and rescue them before the tide came in.
Oh. Maybe we need to take a quick trip down there. Except
really.
for COVID.
New rock.
Watching all of that, all of the Rudy cars and vans over the years there made me think about that, and because that was the first place I heard about that locality was from him. So it was kind of sad to see that happen. But on the other hand, there's rock now, and it hasn't been washed around in the surf.
Yeah. Too many, like up here in Washington, too many of our zeolite localities were on private timberland and are closed. Eastern Oregon, they're still pretty well accessible. You just have to time it right, either in the spring or the fall, where you're in between snow and 100 degrees.
Yeah. There's also that one, the Obsidian Cliffs, which seems to have really nice material, but it's off limits now because it's a wilderness area. So that's kind of a shame.
The reality is, if you go
Legally,
in there,
anyway.
if you were to go in there, and like I say, sit down on the teleslope with your lunch,
yeah,
in a loop, and just pick up a rock and look at it, you don't really need to take hammers and chisels and break rock. It's already been broken for you. And I know people that are going in there still and getting stuff, but yeah, I think some people say surface collecting in the wilderness areas is not an issue. It's more of the digging. And the problems
depends
that
on the
came
ranger
up with,
you run into.
the problems that came up with that are two sources. What happened down in New Mexico at a quartz locality, and over in the Sawtooth Mountains in Idaho in a wilderness area where people were going in and blasting and going in with helos, and that was really the beginning of a lot of the problems in collecting.
So, Doug, is there going to be a part 3?
Oh.
Please.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's going to be a while.
Yes.
I've got to write you some articles, Steve.
Yeah, I know. You get the priorities right.
So it's going to be a while before I put something else together.
Yeah, that's good.
But I'll see if I can start dovetailing it in and multitask.
Excellent. All right. Are there any other questions for Doug?
Yeah, I have one.
Hi, it's Arlene.
Sorry.
Hi, it's
Go ahead,
Arlene.
Arlene.
I love the use of the crystal diagrams. It made the identification much more obvious, clear to see, and I really enjoyed that.
Oh, thank you. I don't know near enough about crystallography, but I added them in because, like you say, some people, it does help some people, and it's kind of interesting to see.
Really helps.
A couple of
especially with the
observations.
zeolites.
Pardon?
Especially with the zeolites, where the
Yeah.
color doesn't give you any clue. So having that crystal shape is so important.
Yeah.
I just had a couple of observations. Number one, it's amazing how much of the material from these quarries you've been talking about the last two times have showed up on the East Coast and the Midwest
Yes.
at Micromount Symposia. I've got specimens from nearly every one of these quarries that you talked about. Never have been there or collected there, but I've got them from finding them on the giveaway tables. Number two is this Yakish Road quarry you talked about.
It's actually a road cut.
Road cut, excuse me. I've got a lot of material from there. It showed up at the Rochester Symposium, the Micromount Playroom on the giveaway tables, and lots of copper in that material that I recall.
Yes, there is. The chalcocite was kind of a surprise to find.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look now.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But it's
But lots of copper that I saw, you know, on the stuff I have from that place.
Have you seen any of the cabin site from the Near Road locality?
No, I haven't.
I know there was some discovered. That wasn't that a co-type locality?
Yes, it was. But my understanding is that where the pit was, where the bauxite and trinitite came from, that the locality for that was a little farther up the road.
Oh, okay.
Probably not much farther up the road, but no, I haven't seen anything in the stuff I have that looks like cabin site.
Right. I've seen some chrysocolla in there, but not the little fibers of cabin site that I would expect.
Yeah, I've got some that's got some of the green stuff that's probably either chrysocolla or malachite.
All right, any other questions? No. If not, we'll close for 2020.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry
Yeah.
Christmas,
Merry
everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy
Keep
New
safe.
Year.
Let's hope that 2021 is a little bit better.
Oh,
Steve, thanks for organising it. You've been doing a great job, mate.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah.
Well done,
Good
Steve.
job, Steve.
Well, we're going to continue.
Hey, thanks, everybody.
yeah.
All the best, everybody.
All right.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, stay safe.
Bye.